try that nowadays.
I wouldn't.
You'd probably get charged for breaking it in.
I would think. Yeah.
But what about locking the doors with something else?
Don't do it.
A bike lock or something like that.
Okay. Go to page 10 there. No, wait. Page 13, sorry. Of the book, of the handout. Something that I had mentioned yesterday, although there is speculation that Simon Gratz actually did live in Gratz, there is more, I'm sorry, I should say it this way, there is really little evidence that that's true. But the one that did live is Theodore Gratz. And if you know where the Norris family lives now, that is the home of Theodore Gratz, okay? So take a look at page 13 there, and let's just read a little bit about him. John, please.
Theodore Gratz, 1811 to 1863, was the third son of Simon and Mary Smith Gratz of Philadelphia. He appears to be the only son of Simon Gratz who had any interest in the area of Gratztown and Wilkins Township. As stated elsewhere, he did express an interest in his father's Gratztown land, and he received about 350 acres.
Hang on a minute. Everybody should be on page 13. Okay, follow along there. 13 of the the reading. And you're welcome to have the hard copy. Okay, go ahead.
This land was situated on the southwest side within the boundaries of the village of Gratz. Theodore came to Gratz early in life, apparently before his marriage. He had at least 3 houses on his acreage, usually occupied by tenants. William Zerby, Peter Schutzdahl, and Michael Schell lived on the Theodore Gratz properties. The 4th house is one that may have been occupied by Theodore Gratz himself. During the 1830s, Theodore Gratz appears as a farmer on the tax assessments. We believe he lived on the farm that eventually became invested in Jacob Shire. The farm continued to be owned by the Shire family until November 1989.
Which, by the way, would actually be Mr. Miller. It'd be his wife's family. You guys probably remember Indy Miller. That's the Shiro family. That's his. Well, it'd be Indy Miller's wife's family, or Indy Miller's mom's family. Okay, let's go to probably the most. Go ahead. Well, I guess that's the next part anyway.
Probably the most important local interest for Theodore Gratz was his investment in the coal industry. These inherited investments must have brought him a considerable measure of prosperity. It counts for the act that he was most times listed on tax records as a gentleman. On November 15th...
I'll tell you what, we don't have to read all this, except just come down there. You see that newly built brick house, and I'll show you where that is on Google Earth in a minute. But that's the home of the Norris family today, in that same paragraph there, and I'll show you where that is. But that's the Gratz family home. Again, we don't have record that Simon Gratz, for whom the town is named, actually lived here. Now, what is interesting about this is Theodore Gratz, and if you look at this is during the 1800s. So what event is going on in 1860s to be exact? Not yet. That's 1900. That's 1914 to 1918. Civil War, yes. So as you can see there, if you scroll through that reading, on page 14, you see the children there. Okay, so if you see the 14, on page 14, these are the children of Theodore Gratz. One in particular, where I think we can relate local history to U.S. history, is if you see John C. Carson Gratz on page 14. And you see John C. Carson there, and read through that. What do you think B stands for? Born, yes. And he was baptized, obviously, 1855 in St. Stephen's Cathedral. Died January 26, 1862, according to service record. Typhoid fever while serving in the Civil War. And I think this is interesting because, once again, local history and U.S. history. So let's go down to the bottom of 14 there. And obviously kind of sad there. This is John C. Gratz' letter that he's writing. Okay, so let's read the introduction. Everybody see where we're at? Bottom of 14. I need like a yes or no. Okay, I got one yes. I guess that means everybody. Good. Another reassured yes. Good. The following two letters have been preserved in the National Archive pension file. The first was written by John C. Gratz to his mother while he was in the service. The second was written by his Army officer after John C. Gratz had died. The original spelling is used in these similar copies. So as you can see, this was written from Camp Northumberland, which was in Virginia, January 6th, 1862, during the Civil War. Okay? Faith, you want to take over, please?
Dear Mother, I have been looking for a letter for you for some time, but all in vain. Night after night I have been disappointed. I am commencing to feel quite uneasy. It is quite an unusual thing for you to not answer my letters. I feel confident that I have always answered your letter, although I confess not always immediately after receipt, but at a proper time, nevertheless. The ground is now covered with snow for the first time. For the first time this winter, everything around us looks white, although pleasant say, as yet no very cold weather, and here it is January. Thankful we should be for such a blessing, and also very few sick, particularly in our company. I don't think we have even 8 or 9 in the whole company, and they have principally
Rheumatism, which is basically nervous issue that results in arthritis, actually.
So far, my health has been very good. This week, we expect to be paid. I understand all the soldiers on this side of the Potomac are to be paid within 10 days from today. I accept our paymaster will be here about Thursday. I understand all the soldiers must have their discharge from the 9-month service before they can receive their $2 extra. And as I have sent mine to you, I don't suppose I can get the $2 unless you forward the discharge to me immediately. If it does not reach me in time, I will try to use an oath writ, for there is nothing lost by trying.
You can call somebody if you want.
I'll try to come home shortly with my pay with me if I possibly can, and if I am not, I will mail some by express for you. But I certainly will mail none, for it is very unsafe when mailed. I will do all in my power to get for I am very anxious to get home once again. I have just this minute had a short conversation with the first
Lieutenant.
He says he will do all he can for me, but I really
Rely.
rely but little on what he says, for he is hard to beat on telling tales. If I would happen to come home, I will come by the way of Philadelphia and see you next. Tell me where sister lives, and if I have time, I will call and see her no more than 10 minutes.
You can call somebody.
Jasmine.
3 large rabbits were brought into a pen that was shot this morning. And we expect to have quite a time this evening eating rabbits. They are very plenty in this part of Virginia. I think even quite a number of them myself. I will those anxious to hear you immediately and remain there doing some.
Now, if you look at the date of that, what date was that letter written? The one we just read? January 6th, yes. And look at this next letter. When's this one written? So how many days later? 20 days later. Obviously, kind of sad. Seth, please.
My dear madam, I have the painful duty to perform of informing you of the death of your son, John C. Gratz, who's taken sick on Tuesday evening and was delirious up to the time of his death, although he recognized his comrades until several hours before his spirit departed, which occurred at 1:45 Surgeon says that he has constipation of the bowels and also confusion on the brain, which was the immediate cause of his death. This letter is wrote at 2 a.m. I intend to go to Washington to telegraph you the sad tidings. And if I receive no message up to 3 o'clock p.m., I will have him interred decently in his grave mark, so that if you should desire his remains to be brought home, there will be no difficulty in processing them. Your son was tenderly nursed and well taken care of, as we kept two men constantly with him day and night, but of no avail. Should we not hear from you, we will inter him at 10 a.m. Monday morning, and close you will find a ring which he wore. I will take an inventory of his effects and forward it to you as soon as I have an opportunity of doing so. Any information which I can give you touching the deceased will be cheerfully given, and believe me, the whole company condole with you in your affliction.
Obviously, very sad story there. Okay, go ahead and hit the lights there. What you're looking at there, that's Camp Northumberland. That was in Virginia, and that was where he died. Okay. So sad all around, really. This is the letter that we just read. Okay, that's actually the primary letter. Okay, so Theodore Gratz continued for years, and this is back to the dad. His substantial brick house at Market and Pine Streets was a focus of the town. He managed a coal interest which he inherited from his father. I also want you to know that Theodore Gratz also served in the state assembly. Okay. So he was a congressman. You don't get a whole lot of congressmen from Gratz. In fact, we've only ever had two that I know of from the Likens Valley. One was Bill Lentz from Millersburg, and the other one Joe Kerwin from Likens. But I guess if you do the math right, that would be three. Atlas is looking at me like, what are you talking about? That would be three, yeah. Joe Kerwin, Bill Lentz, and Theodore Gratz. I think that's pretty interesting. Okay. Theodore Gratz is buried at the old Harrisburg Cemetery. That's down in Derry Street. It's kind of a dilapidated cemetery. That's not too far from where the Civil War Museum is. Pretty cool place. But that's where he's buried. Okay, let's continue on here. The end, quote unquote, of the Gratz family. How many of you, especially those you living in Gratz, have met someone with the last name Gratz? I didn't think so. All right, so what happened? Well, take a look at the screen there. We don't need iPad now, just look at the screen. All Theodore's sons had either died or left Likens Township. As you can see there, of course, Charles Carson, he was 1 month old. Simon, the grandson, moved to Harrisburg. John Carson, of course, also died in the Civil War. James Campbell, who was a grandson, was born in Gratz, but there's no record of him living in Gratz afterwards. What happened here, if you take a look at this, Edward, Theodore's brother, okay, did live in Likens and managed the coal interest. So Edward was Theodore's brother. Now, he did have the last name of Gratz. Well, as you can see there, Likens was at one time owned by Simon Gratz, which he bought at a share sale. Look at that. David Gratz, who was actually the son, Simon's grandnephew, lived in Likens and managed a family interest, similar to his father. He was married to Catherine Martz. What happened here, as you can see, David and Catherine, he married into the Martz family, had two sons along with a sister. Here you go. And this is what happened. All three of the children had died by 1959. Jacob and Edward had no sons to carry on the Gratz name. Now, that means that the daughters they had would have had the name Gratz, but when they got married, they probably took their husband's name. So am I telling you that there could be Simon Gratz family around here? Maybe some of you are related. It's possible. I just don't know that. And as far as I know, there has not been a genealogy study to actually find who the descendants are of Simon Gratz and if there are any still around. My guess would be, though, there are Martz families around. They would be. Okay. They would be. And there are definitely Martz families around, especially Martz over in Gratz area, too. I would say they probably are descendants. So, John, if you're bored over break, after you get your local history project done, run your fire calls, and you want to do genealogy research on Simon Gratz to see if you're a relative, go for it. Okay?
Where I'd start.
I would start at the Gratz Historical Society. That's where I would start. But then from there, or they make it easier for you nowadays. You can just go to Ancestry.com.
He's a Huffman, so we were just learning about that Edna Huffman.
There you go. Maybe Edna's related. You got to throw Edna into a local history class all the time. Good old Edna. Okay, the Crossroads auction. You knew that I waited till Friday to talk about this one. Seth, you knew this was coming. We have to talk about the Crossroads auction. Now, don't throw the iPad, the Crossroads auction. The Crossroads auction's been in existence since, actually, I don't get to say this too much anymore, before I was born. 1956. Austin. That was before we even purchased Alaska and Hawaii. That has been there a while. Jasmine, you going tonight? You better go. This should be on like the historic registry. Faith, I don't know how to motivate you anymore about this auction. You don't really seem too excited. Wow. You're going anyway. I get it. Okay. Here you go. Now, you said you had bad donuts. Has anybody ever once had a bad whoopie pie?
Yes.
Oh, my God. This is a tough crowd to please. Chicken tenders.
No.
Very.
All right, go to page 67 there. Let's take a look. Hit the lights, please. Not a democracy. Do it. No. Keep it up. You might be on strike whether you want to be or not. That's what I got to. I knew I had 3. Thank you. Friday night at the Crossroads auction. Here we go. Shall I go read? Do it.
I can't even see.
I'll help you for many years. Now you go.
For many years, the Crossroads sale market has stood as a symbol of warm, personal country living throughout the Seminoles cover age area.
Do the best you can.
This is well illustrated by
Probably the fact
the fact that the business has been owned and operated by the same family. The license for almost 50 years, a land market consistently in this region. Every Friday night, vendors assemble at the grounds located along Route 25 west of Gratz to sell their large variety of products to the citizens of our area. Vendors pay a mere $10 a table to have a table to sell their products, making it affordable not only for buyers but also for the sellers.
All right, John.
The main building opened in 1956 houses more than 50 vendors. In the summer, several dozen additional vendors assembled outside to sell fresh fruits and vegetables.
Well, let me ask you this question. How many have been there? Seriously, how many have ever been there? That outside part, not the main building, but that was actually the first part. So when I say 1956, that's when that building was built. But they actually had the outside part going back to the 40s. I wonder if they had whoopie pies then, too. Keep going, John.
From fresh meat to vacuum cleaners and from home-baked pies to baseball cards, the variety of products available is sufficient to satisfy just about anyone's needs at once. Throughout the years, many vendors have come and gone, some only staying for a short time, while others have become permanent fixtures.
You can pause there. Go to page 68 there. You can just take a look at the pictures. And just flip. We're not going to read every last part of this.
White pies are the worst.
Entitled your opinion.
Pies that they sell?
Okay, go ahead and hit the lights. And Crossroads auction, as you can see, is right here on the corner. Okay, got about 7 minutes. A lot of you have already done the worksheet. That's great. If you didn't, get that done. Okay, try to knock that out now so I can grade them and get the grades in. Okay, go for it. Need help? Let me know. Thank you.
Yeah. What is the last one? I spent